Boom, we are live. What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Drown Talk. And today we are going to be talking about comic book reviews. Are they good? Are they bad? Do you read them? Should you read them as a creator? That's what we're going to be talking about today. Super excited. I got two awesome creators on the show to talk about this topic. Before I bring them in, I just want to remind everyone that on February 4th, Demons Volume 2 is going to be on Indiegogo. If you missed out your chance on getting Demons Volume 1, which is 122 pages, you'll have the opportunity this time around on the Indiegogo to get it as well, along with Demons Volume 2, which is 130 pages. So super excited for that. I'm getting ready for the campaign. I'm kind of scared, but that's what happens when you do a crowdfund a book. So yeah, super excited. If you were watching, please hit us up in the chat if you ever have questions, if you want to say something. We always want to read them. So without further ado, I want to introduce you guys to my guests tonight. We have Rob Anderson, and then we have Benny Andino.
Andino.
Andino or Bandino?
Andino,
I got it. Okay, Benny Andino and Rob Anderson. How you guys doing?
Good.
All right, sweet. So what we'll do, guys, is I'm going to let the creators real quick talk and tell us about their projects for a quick minute, and then we'll get on to the show's topic. And like I said, if you're watching, please hit us up in the chat. Say hi. So we'll start with Benny. Benny, tell us about yourself real quick and tell us what projects you're working on.
Well, I'm a veteran. I used to be in the Army, so Special Forces, and I got 8 kids. And I mean, I love horror. My story is mostly around horror. H.P. Lovecraft is one of my favorite writers. So is Edgar Allan Poe. So I kind of go that way towards the weird and the gory. The first project that I did was Heavyweight Messiah. Is Jesus Christ comes to Earth as his second coming to beat. Let me take and explain that. Beat the crap out of people into submission to make them, pardon their sins. That's what I wanted to say. And that's number one. And I have another one called Punchline. It's a girl she's a stand-up comedian, and there's this demon clown that wants to transfer his powers to hers because he doesn't want them, and then they end up both being one entity instead of two. This is all part of the Cardinal Sin saga. There's 7 different stories all merge into one. People die, people resurrect, and they're all like interlocked with each other. And my biggest one is Dark Day, Light Day, which is the character's name is Alex, and his power is that whatever he thinks happens. But it's like more of a curse because he only does it when his emotions are in play. So if he's angry, he can, like in the comic, he pops everybody's eyes in the diner. A little kid suffers for it, but that little kid he died of cancer in his other life, and it comes. Yeah, man, it's basically most of my stuff is horror.
Do you publish on what do you publish them as webcomics? Or they print? What's your main source of getting these books out there to people?
I do them both. I do webcomic, I do webtoons, and then I just print them and I sell them in the different comic book stores. And right now I'm working on a deal to get them into Barnes and Noble.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. The guy because Alterna Comics is interested in it, so I don't know. I'm kind of iffy about that. I like to do all my own thing. Yeah.
Hey, but you know what? We were talking about that the other day. We were saying that it is nice to have your own, to do it yourself because you have all the control. But having someone like Alterna, you have they do provide so many options and things that you can't do yourself.
Yeah, that's what I talked it over with the wife, and she's like, man, whatever. And especially I like the newsprint, their style.
I'm excited for that. January 25th, they're going to be unveiling that newsprint style for indies. So if you guys don't know what that is, Alterna Publishing, they're an indie publishing company, and what they're doing is they're offering their printing services to creators so that it's back to newsprint. style comic books, and it's, I think for a 24-page comic book, it's 45 cents per book to print. And so like you can print up to like, you can start out a printing of like 500. And then you can just sell it, for $2-3, make some money and get your comic. Most importantly though, get your comic book out to as many people as you can.
Yeah, I love that stuff. It reminds me of when I was a kid.
Yeah, I bought an Alterna comic like 2 weeks ago just so that I could see what the newsprint was like, and it looks great. I want to introduce also our second guest, Rob Anderson. How you doing, bud?
What's going on, guys? How's everyone doing?
Guys, Rob is currently working on a Kickstarter right now called The Advocator Presents. It is almost at $1,500. Can we get it to $1,500 tonight? We're only $18 away. You get Rob. Tell us about the project. Tell us why we should back it.
Well, first off, I am the Indie Advocate because I run the Global Digital Comic Con known as IndieAdvocates.com. I'm also known as the Indie Devil because I create books about fetish, monsters, and more. Tonight, we're going to be talking about which I'll put on the screen for you guys to see. I'll screen share that for you guys. This is the Advocator Presents. This is our winter edition. It's indie comic franchise shorts. The Advocator is like web episodes for indie comic book franchises. Short stories giving you more of the characters you love. We're featuring different stories every week. This week we featured Martin Testament by Frank Martin. Tomorrow we switch over to the book from Chuck. And we're also going to be highlighting Joe Duas because they actually have a bit of a crossover coming over tomorrow. The idea of this book was very simple and very pure. We wanted to promote indie comics and have all indie creators working together. So this is a project that leads no one to anything. And if I could just have a few seconds, I'll actually read you this thing, which explains it perfectly. The Advocator Presents is a collection of short stories from indie creators who have their own pre-established franchises, now offering continued short stories of the characters you have fallen in love with and may even gain some insight into these characters. For some of our creators featured in this volume that you're already a fan of, you get a new story that has never been seen before. The Advocator Presents is a new way to advocate for creators and their creations by allowing and challenging them to create new stories within their worlds, and then advocate for each other on the Comic-Con highway. A great benefit of this project is that the creators are all equal in this project, and all creators will be given an even share of the printed books. No one creator profits over the others outside of the hustle of sales at their tables. So that's the Indie Advocate. We got some amazing creators on it from, if you don't know her, Jamie Primack from the Binary Star fame. She does it all. Grimwood Crossing from Connor Bartel and his team. Frank Martin brought the Modern Testament to life with his team. We have Joseph Duas giving us a short, the only short that's more than 4 pages. That's actually 8 and will be in both issues. Travis Gibb gives us a book about Not Broke Down Yet. And Chuck explains more about The Void and The Void Point 5. Welcome to The Void Point 5. So that is indie for us.
Yeah, I want to be part of it.
Well, we are. We seriously, we are still accepting. Travis Gibb is the one in charge of the project. He's the project manager. We might switch out roles as we keep going, but I think we filled up the spring and summer, but I think the fall issue we still have available spots. Talk to Travis Gibb. Anyone interested? Where this is about building something for indie comics to promote indie comics and show that indie creators can work together and don't have to compete with each other.
Guys, it's a super awesome idea. I think this is the way that indies. I think this is the way that indies are going to be going forward. Is we need to be helping each other like this, and this is the perfect way. What I think would be awesome is in the future that this is like a Shonen Jump. I know Jeff Weber in the comments that just said that it says you guys should do a 300-page newsprint book, sort of like Shonen Jump for indies. I mean that's super cool. This is a super cool project. I put the link down below. Go back it if you like it. And if you are also interested, Benny said he was interested. If you're interested in wanting to get, your story out, talk to Travis Gibb, talk to Rob Anderson. And they'll help you. They'll figure it out. These two guys are, awesome. So sweet guys, let's talk about comic book reviews, good or bad. For me, comic book reviews sometimes, I'm going to talk mainly with mainstream comics right now. Comic book reviews help me figure out, maybe what I want to read, what I don't want to read. But sometimes, if the reviewer, sometimes it makes me want to understand the book a little bit more. But it never really deters me in wanting to read a book. I typically know what I want to read. I'm going to read it no matter what, regardless of the review. Benny, what do you think? What's your take on that? Does it stop? And we're going to just talk about mainstream comics right now before we go into indies.
I mean, I never go with people's opinion because I always like to get my own opinion on every comic book I see. If they read, let's say, a Venom, and and I read, and people are like, "Oh man, the Venom was awesome. It was very inciting, and I like the storyline." Okay, but if I read it and I don't like it, and I review it, and it doesn't mean that I'm not going to read anything else from Venom. I don't let it influence anything that I read. Actually, even if it's a good or a bad review, it's like the review that you did. I don't remember what that comic book was that the guy got really mad, but it made me read it.
Are you talking about the one that was on my channel?
Yeah, the one like with the Karate Kid girl, whatever. The guy got pissed, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna read it to see what it is. That gave me a door opening to be like, hey, I'm gonna. And when I read it, I was like, he was right in certain spots. He was wrong. It wasn't a bad comic, but it still got it out there because I didn't know what it was.
So, do you think then with reviews, it goes to the old saying, good press, bad press is still good press?
Always, man. It doesn't matter because it's like wrestling. The bad guy, even if you boo him, you're still giving him attention.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I found a lot of comics on like YouTube that have gone terrible reviews, but I didn't even know they existed. Without that bad review, and then I'm go, well, that kind of looks interesting, and then I'll read. So that's very true. Rob, what do you think about this?
Well, I think mainstream has its own ability to be noticed, and I think reviews honestly help the reviewers more than they do the comic books. While I do agree that sometimes, yes, having a book reviewed does make people aware of it, I really think it's more for people to be noticed by talking about Marvel and DC more than it does actually bring light to the actual comic books themselves. Because like both of you have said, everyone has a different take on a book, Reviews are like movies. Look at movies. How many times have we been told a movie is bad by critics and we went to the movie theater and loved it? Remember, the early reviews of Marvel's Infinity War were bad from the reviewers. And then they all switched over once the crowd showed up. So I don't necessarily know that I trust reviewers very often because I think sometimes they're either doing it to get noticed or they're doing it to stir the pot and to get people talking about things. Because I mean, the only reviews we ever seem to talk about are the negative ones. I never hear anyone talking about a positive review. And that's not necessarily true with indie. Indie, it is a little different. I know you said we talk about that in a minute, but mainstream-wise, honestly, I just think everyone's trying to – I mean, how many indie comic book websites do we see that are talking about Marvel and DC books instead of indie books?
Every.
And right. They want clicks. They want hits. That's what they do. That's why with our website, we don't review those books because what's the value? You're either going to buy Marvel or DC, and there's so many people buying it. Realistically, what's getting people to come over are what people are saying about the overall product, not a single issue. If you think about it, it's the discussion about, oh, Superman's been really good for the last 12 issues. It's not necessarily one issue at a time. When it is one issue, it's when Catwoman walks out on Batman. And then DC gives it away themselves now. And that's what's crazy is that the big companies, Marvel and DC, are spoiling their own product because they know that the comic book shops are taking the books early, giving them to people, and those people are reviewing it and ruining it. So they're literally jumping ahead and ruining their own books.
Yeah, it's like when and now the whole idea of like the comic The Damned, the Batman Damned.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All they were thinking about it was Batman's penis. That's all they're worried about. And then they don't review the storyline that's going in that comic book that's really good.
Yeah, and everyone, like you said, it became the he's got a penis.
Exactly.
I was upset only until the point I found out that because I didn't know anything about it. This was the first I was hearing about it. I wrote a book about fetish. So a lot of people confronted me about it because they know I've had trouble with fetish as well. just marketing and people taking it the wrong way. And it's anytime we talk about sex, people get all shy. Oh my God, he has a penis. Are you surprised Batman had a penis? What is it about it that surprised the crowd? It was like, oh my God, he has a penis. It's like, what did you expect? He made Damien. Obviously,
Exactly.
he has a penis. So then
he had Catwoman. He had a bunch of women. He's a human being. He doesn't have superpowers, you know.
Yeah, and then it became about, well, was this a book meant for kids? And then it turned out it wasn't, and I was like, I applauded them. Because you know what this was, and I've said this on other interviews, and I'll say it again publicly, this wasn't about showing Batman's penis. This has never been about showing Batman naked. You know what it's about? They want to show Wonder Woman naked. They want to show Catwoman naked, because they know that will break the internet. So if they start off with Batman and show his penis, they think they're going to have the right to show boobs later. Trust me, they're coming.
Well, one thing to remember is that with DC's book, that book, it was on their Black Label book, which is, they said at the beginning, this is for mature audiences. I mean, Sean Gordon Murphy's White Knight was intended to be a Black Label. It is now a Black Label book, but he drew Harley Quinn a Harley Quinn Joker sex scene. And then now that when it went to normal comic book, they had to put the lettering over her boobs. And then now that it's a Black Label book, they re-lettered it so that you can see her boobs. But I do agree. They just took the context out of that. Instead of reviewing the book, they hit on one point. But let's get to this then. How does this actually? I'm gonna ask the question, and before you guys answer, I'm gonna read stuff from the chat. But the question is, how do reviews affect indies? So while you guys think about that, I'm gonna read through the chat. Just to say hi to some people. Let me get to the very top. We got eHero Andrew and Alan Ellsworth and Jeff Weber in Britain. What up, guys? We got Mighty Geek Studios in the house. Kawhi, how you doing? And she says, that moment you see that this channel almost has 700 subscribers. Yes, if you are watching and you are new to the channel, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to grow this awesome community. We have Kawhi saying, I think a review can make or break a comic. You can build up or lower an expectation for a person. Exactly. Also, am I saying your name right? Please let me know. eHero Andrew, what are the terms for joining Indie Advocate? And then Justin Ori saying, hey guys, little A. What up, Justin? So I guess real quick before we go into that question I asked earlier, Rob, what are the terms for joining Indie Advocate?
The terms are pretty basic and pretty straightforward. We wanted to keep them that way to keep everyone feeling comfortable with what we're doing. So basically, you have to own the rights to the product. Obviously, it's important that we be dealing with the person running the campaign and not someone who thinks that they want it in. So you have to be a creator, or you have to get the creator involved. Once the creator is involved, you guys have to give us a 4-page story that has never been in print anywhere else. You keep the rights to it. We get the first print of it, and then it stays in the Advocator, whatever issue it is. And that Advocator itself will be reprinted as much as anyone in the book wants to reprint it, and it'll continue. You only get books based upon the Kickstarter's financial gain, and then the amount that we can split the books evenly. We have a goal, so everyone basically gets 100 copies right now. The higher we go on our goal, the more we can cut corners, the more books every creator will get. No creator is going to get any money. There is no constant stream of revenue, but you can always reorder the book and always resell the book, and that's a way to make a stream of revenue. Everyone is allowed, but it has to be, as of right now, it has to be something that's been pre-established or approved. We do approve, obviously, with Joseph, an 8-page story that wasn't a pre-established franchise, but he was also put in as an exception, and that was because of all the work he's done with his smaller anthology pieces. So you can get more details from either me or Travis Gibb on Facebook or on our Advocator actual page, and we'll be happy to answer all your questions.
So eHero Andrew says, what if you already self-publish? So Andrew, for the Indie Advocator, those 4 pages have to be either brand new pages or refurbished pages with like either different panel structure or different dialogue, because they want Indie Advocator wants the story that's in the Indie Advocator to be the very first scene, and then you can use those pages afterwards for whatever other project you have, as long as it's first. Those 4 pages are first in Indie Advocator. Did I get that right, Rob?
Yeah, and you could also, we have opened it up where in future talks or other people come in who have told us, well, I have a web comic that I've never printed. That would count. If it's never been printed, it doesn't mean you can't reuse a story you've done. If it's in the past and it's only been digital, yes, you can bring it to the Advocator, because then we're the first one to get it in printed form. The point is to get it into people's hands. For perfect example, I'm in issue number 2. I cross over 3 of stories. I cross over my monster story, my fetish story, and a book made by my friend Keith Thomas, who passed away, now in charge by CB Zane. They're all going to come together as a cosplay story. And that's 3 different entities in one. When I send it out to the other people, like Brian K. Morris, who's in the book with me, and he goes up to Chicago, which I don't go to Chicago. I don't go to the Middle West a lot. I'm down in Florida, and I stand on the East Coast. He's going to bring my work somewhere I don't get to be. And vice versa, I bring Brian K. Morris's work to Florida. So that's where the big win is with the Advocator. The fact that we're going to be introducing our work to other people's audiences, and they're going to be introducing their work to other people's audiences through our tables throughout the United States on the Comic-Con highway.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, so let's start with Benny. Benny, how do you feel about indie comic reviews? Do they help or do they not? And I'm gonna add this, because with mainstream comics, I think it doesn't matter. People are going to buy them, like we've said. Marvel or DC, people are going to buy them. With an indie comic, though, because we don't have the big names, do you think a good review or a bad review can ruin a comic? What do you think?
It depends on because I do a lot of reviews. As I don't know if you've read some of my reviews, I've been attacked a lot of times about the way I talk and the way I say and I express my previews, the reviews. Sorry, and I think it's just a double-edged sword in that situation, because I, for one, don't like anime. I mean, I don't hate on it, and that's whoever likes it, that's on it. But when I do a review and I say I don't like anime, but the comic is well done, the story is very interesting, then they take it like I completely hate anime. And that is what kind of they take it as breaking the cycle of hate. I don't know how to explain it. Like if you have I reviewed a comic, what was it called? Something about Eternal Dreams or something. I didn't like the artwork, and I didn't like the way he pushing the story, but it was 65 pages and it got me in the end. I was like, oh, that's what it is. You know what I mean? So I gave him a good review, and that guy is now thanking me. He hated me, and then he thanked me because I was honest with what I said. Well, what I mean is when you give a good review to an indie comic, it completely helps it, because we don't have a mainstream that'll take us, and be like, oh, this comic was awesome. It's like you, me, and 3 other people are going to read it, and we'll tell our friends, hey, man, I read a good review about that comic book. Let's go read that. But if you got a bad review, if it's an indie comic, most of the time it's going to get pushed to the side, because I've seen it happen. It's happened to my comics. Mine get reviewed, oh, it's awesome comic, and then the people they're like Heavyweight Messiah, they call me blasphemous, and that I'm going to hell because I make Jesus into a boxer, because Jesus gets his ass kicked in the comic book. But if you read the whole story, it's more than that. But people only see that. You understand what I'm saying?
So do you think then that indie reviewers need to spend more time in actually like reading and taking in the story before doing the actual review?
Yeah, because some people are turned off by the artwork. But remember, not every indie artist has $1,500 to pay for an artist to you know what I mean? And some artists are a little bit more experienced, but they charge you less. But then the story is amazing. You have to give a chance to everybody. You can't be like, oh man, that reason sucked, I'm not going to read it. I'm not like that. I'll read anything.
I do agree with you on that, and I do agree. I half agree, half disagree. I agree with the fact that that there are in the indie community there are tons of good stories that are being written, but that they might have some shady art that people don't enjoy. But the reason why I disagree though is because I do feel like comic books, they are a visual medium, in that you might write a story. You know, what's his bucket says it. The guy who wrote Jeff Loeb. He says you don't want to write a song for the piano and have a tuba player play the song.
I mean, I've been turned off by artwork before.
Mm-hmm.
I read it. I'm like, what is this? You know, but and me as being a writer and a comic book reader for years, I'll be like, let me still give it a chance, even if it's burning my eyes looking at it.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's true. Rob, what do you think about all this?
It's a complicated issue because first off, in indie comics, one of the biggest thing is any press is good press. It winds up being something where people are so desperate for attention that they'll take a negative review. And I say that as someone who is committed to only making positive reviews of the reviews I do. I'm given 100 books a year to review. I did 10 reviews last year out of 100 books. That's because people don't pay for editors. And when they send it to me, I become their editor. And some of them want me to still do a review. And I have an audience that I can't give something that's not professional. They're trusting me to say something, and I'm not going to lie to them. So I do think a review is important because I'm at the point in my career where if I said something negative about a book publicly, I do think it would hurt someone. And obviously that's not something I want to do to anyone's career. So I'm very careful with the way I word things. I wouldn't even talk about art because I know how subjective art really is. So I don't think it's my opinion, but I do think there's a difference between not talking about art styles and talking about bad art and art that shouldn't be charged for, because after all, this is a commercial property, and if you're going to charge someone money, it better be worth it. So there are so many people so desperate for press that they'll take a negative review and they think they can run with it and go out to the public and say, oh, look at this person, they didn't understand and they're bullying me, and hoping that people will suddenly back them. And I've seen it happen, and it doesn't get pretty. And then again, we do have a little bit of the I'm a reviewer and I'm going to attack some things just to get myself up there because they want to be a snark person. So reviews for indie comics are only helpful, in my opinion, when they're positive, and it's very difficult to get people to always be positive about indie comics because some people, there'll be chances that we take in indie comics. Like for me, I did a lot of different things with my lettering, and people did not like it initially what I was doing with lettering. If I explained it to people, they would go, oh, that's a really good idea, but I'd have to explain it. So, I mean, there is a bit of a artistic license that we use in indie comics that some reviewers won't even bother to ask. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but before I finished a review publicly, I talked to the creator about what I saw, and I'll ask questions because sometimes maybe I didn't understand it. Maybe when the stomach was talking in the book, it wasn't bad lettering. Maybe the stomach was a character I didn't catch, and I have to go back and read it again. You know what I mean? A lot of times it's just simple mistakes.
Go for it, Benny.
I get that a lot, man. I get out in my stories, like people read my stories and they're like, "What the hell? What's going on?" You know, because like he was saying about lettering, I put the lettering as the thing, the way I see it, the moment that would happen. People are so used to everything being so simplistic. When they see something that's a little complicated, they get confused. It's happened to me so many times, and I'm like, it's like what he said that you have to explain the story. That happens to me. It's like a joke that nobody understands. You're like, bro, that's funny as hell, and they don't get it.
Does that mean though? So let's say a review. I'm gonna play devil's advocate. Let's say that you get a review like that, and they're like, oh well, you just didn't get it. Is it the reviewer that's wrong, or is it maybe that us as creators are the ones who are wrong, but we don't want to admit it?
But what I do is I correct if they don't understand it, I'll get 2 or 3 other people to review it to see if it was me. It's like a second opinion in a doctor. Maybe that guy didn't get it, but if I go to 2 or 3 people and they're like, I don't know what the hell's going on, then it's me. And then that's when you straighten out whatever you're doing to please the eye. But if you go to the other 3 people and they're like, "Oh yeah, I know what was going on," they said, "But that guy didn't get it."
Mm-hmm. I also think it's important that we as indies, as you know, we do need some sort of validation, but also don't strictly go for such validation. Like, you know, don't you know, I've given bad reviews on this channel, and then the creator will. I mean, I've had creators just get angry at me.
For that one.
They'll get angry at me. But one thing that I do is I actually created a review sheet, and I review every comic on this grading sheet. And I even did a video. You guys can check it out. It's one of my earlier review videos. And the whole time I'm reviewing this comic, I'm saying how much I hate it. That I think the story's awful. I think the art's that I don't like the art. I think that it's just disgusting. I seriously did not like the story. I gave it a 9 out of 10 because even though I didn't like it, it fit my criteria of what I thought was a good comic, regardless if I thought it was good. We have Jeff Weber in the chat saying, I think if you don't like a comic, a way around that is suspend your review, telling what the comic is about and who it's intended for. So I guess with that statement, and I guess with Rob's, when we do reviews for indies, do we always need to keep them positive? Or do we think indies need to have more negative reviews?
Well, because the positive only positive reviews is like having a bratty child, you know, like a spoiled kid. Like, oh, he didn't do anything bad. You got to slap them in the hand once in a while so they can wake up and be like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I can fix it. Maybe fuck this guy. I don't like this guy. You know, it just depends on what on the way you take it, because I don't want anybody babying me and hanging and holding me by the hand when I'm doing my stories, because they're my stories. You know what I mean?
But at the same time, you probably wouldn't want me if you wrote a bad comic, you don't want me to be like, oh yeah, Benny, it's so good.
I don't want me to be, because I know it's got flaws, because we're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. Mm-hmm. You know, the whole idea of people be like, oh, it needs a good review because it's a good review and it's an indie comic. Nah, bro, that's the way we grow. I went to Iraq, I got shot. You think I'm going back to Iraq? Ain't no damn way I'm going back to Iraq.
Well, thank you for your service, Benny. What do you think, Rob?
I'd have to go out and say, first off, people do get bad reviews from me. Out of those 100 books last year, 90 people got bad news from me.
Nice.
And I gave them the personal review.
Yeah, that's positive. It's positive reinforcement.
On top of that, they also got another way to have a negative review that you guys just didn't see, and that was the fact it never wound up on indieadvocates.com. That means that they didn't get to instantly get to view 28,000 subscribers, didn't see their comic book because it didn't pass the quality standard. So they did get, in a lot of regards, this slap on the wrist that said, you're not ready. Don't bring me something like this again until you fix it. And I'll tell them flat out what is wrong. And for something to fail a criteria for me not to do a review, it has to have stunningly bad things. Because like Jeff Weber had said, there are books I've been asked to review that I hated the story. I'm like you. I was like, this story is horrible. I do not understand why anyone would like it. But like you said, you have a way of doing your grading of a book. So do I. So if that passes my grading, then if you ever watch my review, and I'm not using words, and I say this all the time when I send out my stuff to be read, I'm looking for people to say, I love it. I'm looking for people to say, that was amazing. I want to see more. Tell me more. I want that. When I get a review back that says, oh, it was okay, it was good, I know I'm not doing something right. So the reviews where I'm like, this was well put together, and I think this book is nice, it's pretty, you know that I'm just giving it a review because it passes. It's not something that excited me. And I don't like doing those reviews either, because I don't think I think it's disingenuous not to be excited about a comic book. And I do think some negative reviews are necessary. I just don't want to be the one to do it, because I do think that what I've created with the Indie Advocates being such a space of acceptance, to do that would go against it. So I like to do it privately, if that makes sense.
The advocates, it's the Indie Advocates. It's seen as, this positive community that's supposed to build up.
Yeah, exactly.
Fans. You don't want to be seen as like a gatekeeper. So I understand the position you're in. Benny, the review that I did, that I know that the one that we know that we're talking about, that's how I met you. Do you think I did it? Do you think it was an evil? I was told it was an evil review. Did I do a bad job?
No.
Like, could I have done something better?
No, you were honest, because when I read what you said, I read it and I'm like, you know what? It's right. I don't get what the parts that you talked about, because then I read it, I nitpicked it. I was like, okay, this is what he said. Let me see if he's right. This is what he said. Let me see if he's right. And probably like 85% of the whole comic book, you were right. Because it had a lot of loopholes and and it's good to leave you hanging in a story, but leave you hanging, not really getting a bunch of stuff in the story makes no sense.
One thing I did feel bad with. There was at one point where I was like, kind of, because I was so taken back. I was like, what? And I did feel like I was a little bit rude, and I apologized for that. But I really think that we need more indie comic book reviews. But like the problem with this, and Rob kind of said it, is that there are so many indie comic books out there that everyone's wanting a review. And it's just like, how can I review? I mean, like Rob said, he got 100 review comic books, and he's like, we got what, 10 of them?
10 of them made it to the actual site.
Yeah, so it's so much work to review a book. I mean, when I put on Facebook, I'll review your comic book, I got like 50 emails, and I only think I did like 5 because I was so overwhelmed. I know. I'm sorry. I still have yours though. I still read. I did. The artwork for the Messiah one was really good. I am very Christian though, so it might offend me.
It's not blasphemous. You just gotta read it.
I know. That's the thing. I just need to read it. We have James Henson in the chat saying, "Can you link the review channels for these 2 guests?" Rob Anderson so you go to indieadvocator.com. Is that what it is?
Yeah. You can go to indieadvocates.com. And you'll find a link actually in our menu for the Advocator we talked about earlier, and just thousands of creators and all their projects. We just updated the look; it's brand new and fresh. And I can go over and drop into YouTube the actual link for the video. If you give me 1 second, I'll add it in for you guys right now.
Sweet. Yeah, I just put it in as well. And then. I mean, guys, if you ever want me to review a comic, I can never make promises, guys. I'm so busy these days. I can barely make it. I used to be remember guys, the golden days when I was doing 5 shows a week. I can barely do 1 or 2 now because of my new job.
Say that you just go to my site, my Rare Format Comics, send me a message, and I'll review it. I'll review any comic. I promise you that I'll be the most honest as I can be when it comes to the comic book.
Boom. I put that in there as well. I put it in Rare Format Comics. So guys, use these links. If you guys want to get honest opinions from 2 awesome creators, hit them up. I trust their opinions. And then let me Indie Advocates. All right, show. All right. Well, guys, sorry that this show was a little late. But if you guys have any questions for these 2 creators, please hit us up in the chat. While you guys type in your questions, I just want to make 2 quick announcements. For 3 actually for the Draw and Talk show. We're going to be doing 3 special shows this year. 2 special shows, and there's one other announcement. The first special show is we're going to be doing So You Want to Write a Comic Book. Mm-hmm. What it's going to be, it's going to be like America's Got Talent. It's going to be me and 2 other judges. And we're going to basically put the Google Hangouts link in the chat. And what you can do is any writer can hit that link, get on the show, and then you pitch your 2-page comic to us. You have 1 minute to pitch us the comic. And then if we don't like it, we boot you out. And then it's just going to be entertaining. We're not trying to be like dicks or anything. We'll either boot you out, but if you do win, we do like your idea, we'll put you on to the next round. The winner of this will have $200 put into the art. I will put in $200 of my money, and I will pay an artist to draw your story. so that you can have it. So that's going to be an episode on the show. And then second thing is throughout the year, while we interview comic book artists, while we interview comic book writers, while we showcase all these awesome books, I'm jotting them down in a freaking notebook. And what we're going to do at the end of the year is we're going to have the Draw and Talk Awards. And we're going to come up with I'm going to come up with a bunch of different categories. I'm going to put a bunch of different people in there and, that I see fit. And then we'll do a special show where you guys will vote on every single one. And then on the awards night, we're going to do like an Oscars thing. I'll be dressed up in a suit. I'll have like awards and you'll fake get them. So that's going to be fun. And then third announcement is we're going to be doing a Draw and Talk anthology hopefully sometime this year. It's going to be a superhero anthology. And what the book is going to be doing is we're going to try to get the books into a bunch of schools. I'm going to hand them out to a bunch of schools for kids to read for free. And then also the rest of the proceeds after the printing are going to go to a charity that I'm still trying to figure out. So if you are interested in that, you need to be a writer or artist. I'm not going to upfront. You have to figure out a way to pay your artist and whatnot, figure that out. No one's going to be making money, but it's, we're going to try to get a story out and put it into schools and then to charity. So yeah, we have John Dillard gaming the system saying, did I win an award already? Not yet, John. We have James Henson saying, when is the optimal time to get an indie comic reviewed? Logistically would be hard to do before crowdfunding for most indie creators. How far in advance, Rob, do you need to have? How far in advance does someone need to send you a review before you actually get to it?
Depends on my workload and how much I've been asked. Right now, I have one review to do, and it was a 2-part book. I got to read the second part of the issue. So I'm already booked for the next 2 or 3 weeks. Plus, once we go on the road, you have to deal with your road schedule, and that affects a lot. A lot of us creators are heading back to the Comic-Con highway. I'm back this weekend at a show, as a matter of fact, here in Central Florida Comic-Con. So I would say you have to be a month. You have to be willing to give a month, if not longer. I'm very clear at the beginning. People drop their books and say to me, oh, when you can get around to it, give it a review.
Bye-bye.
And, some people just don't understand how busy our schedules can get. And I get that because, again, they're more worried about their own, product getting reviewed and getting out there. And they expect a review to change their life in a day. And I get that because it can. There are some books I reviewed that did help start careers, to be honest with you. And I'm credited with that. And I'm not going to drop names because it's not my place. But I know that they've said that because I liked their book and it was reviewed, they got picked up by publishers. So it does. It can change things. It can be a night and day difference. But you got to be patient. Reviewers are generally people with other jobs. We're usually creators ourselves. And we're usually doing it to help the indie community and not cash in on it, versus like going back to the original thing we were talking about, the beginning of the program or the top of this discussion was in mainstream. Most people are giving their opinions because they want to be seen giving their opinions on Marvel. When it comes to indie, I think there's a lot more passion. And I think people really do want to help other creators for the most part.
With the show, I try to get indie creators on every single episode that I do a live stream. And I try to showcase as many crowdfunding books or other things for creators. But like Rob said, sometimes you have to message us like a month or two in advance. I had someone message me saying, "Hey, I need to come on the show tonight." It's like, well, I have 2 guests on already. No. And then they're like, okay, well, can I come on tomorrow? I'm like, I'm not doing a show tomorrow. Actually, I'm doing a show tomorrow. Then they go, when can you? And it's like, well, I have a month's worth of guests booked. And they go, well, when can you make time for me? Like in a month. And it's something that us indies need to realize is that, no one owes you anything. I did a video on it because I was really complaining one day, as I do. And the video title says, "No one owes you anything." But, people like, me, Benny, and Rob, when we do read comics, we're typically not getting paid. I'm going to be honest, I'm not getting paid for this show at all. I do this on my own free time. Benny's not getting paid to be on the show. I'm not paying Rob to be on the show. One day, guys, I will have enough money to start paying my guests, but that's not this day.
We get exposure, man.
We're all doing this because we love comics and we love indie comics and we just want to have a good discussion. So understand that, you need to, when you're going to do something, you need to plan. When you're, planning your Kickstarter, it should probably take you about a month or two to plan it, create it. You have to also consider sending those books out to review. You can't be like, hey, I got like 2. I had someone last year saying, oh, my Kickstarter's got 1 week left. I got to get on your show. I'm like, I've got no more slots. Like, hit me up.
Don't get me on Kickstarters, man.
Oh yeah, that'll be another episode because I know Benny doesn't like Kickstarters. But yeah, guys, we got Jeff Weber saying getting advanced reviews is a good reason to have your book done well ahead of your launch. Exactly. And then we have Kawhi. I would do it for free anytime if I can build my confidence up. Kawhi, you can absolutely do it. I hope that we here on Draw and Talk build your confidence up. So yeah, guys, thanks so much. Thanks so much for watching. Remember to hit that like button. Also, please check out Rob Anderson. I put the link in the chat for the indieadvocates.com, and also check out the Kickstarter right now for the Advocator. Also in the chat, go to rareformat.com. Wait, did I get that thing right?
Just search Rare Format on Facebook, man.
rareformatcomics.com, or check out Rare Format Comics on Facebook. Benny says it'll be easier. Guys, check out their comic books. Check out some indie comics. Let's have a freaking good time. John Diller gave the system saying, put me on your show February 31st. I'm scared. Let me just check real quick. Actually, I've never done this before. I feel like I have a gun to my head. Oh, that was funny. February 31st. I feel like a freaking idiot. I feel so embarrassed. This is the worst way to end the show. I feel my wife's over there laughing at me off camera. Oh,
I was like, 31st, that doesn't exist.
Oh my gosh. This is okay. Whatever. Okay. indieadvocates.com. All right, guys. I'm so embarrassed. Screw you, John Diller. Give me the system. All right. Smash that subscribe button, like and comment. Guys, you guys are awesome tonight. Peace out.